Coming up in this video, a review of the Ultra Tour Yorkshire Dales, bit of the goings on in my personal life, and a little sneak peek into what will be going on for the last part of 2024. This hill, running up the hill. 4 days removed from a 100k race. So welcome back to another vlog, vlog 2. I'm not sure why I recorded a vlog this late on into a YouTube existence, but I just thought it'd be a good way of just info dumping. So it's really an info dump, it's not really a vlog, of all the things that are going on around Great Owl Running and me. Speaking of which, the YouTube channel now, you might have noticed a subtle change in the name of it, which is now Adam Nodwell X Great Owl Running. Not XEX, just X, just with and meaning. Maybe it should be a plus, I don't know, maybe I'll change it again. Just basically because I'm obviously showcasing races by other companies as well as Great Owl Running. It's not just races by Great Owl Running, so that's why I'm doing a little animal there. Yeah, well, I'm showcasing races by other organisers as well as just Great Owl Running, so to avoid the confusion, I'm very happy showcasing and championing all of these other race organisers, but they're not my events, so that's essentially why. Obviously when I started this channel it was called Nodwell Runs, but I'm just quite happy just putting my name out there, really. Oh, Holly. Speaking of Holly, the Holly Hustle is in about 10 days time now. Last few entries. No, hang on, there's plenty of entries left, but we've done really well on the entries this year at this stage, considering it being a 10k. We're on about 70. It's maybe just short of 80 entries for that now. And we're in a couple of weeks time, this golf course here. So yeah, we're about 10 days away and on about 80 entries, so I'd like to get to 100. I think it was 101 finishes last year, so if we can get 102 finishes this year, I'll be very happy. Once again, always needing volunteers for that. Always needing volunteers, because it's quite a complicated route, and there's a few junctions that I need people standing on, and you know, it's only a 10k, so it doesn't take much effort really. You don't have to be out there for that long, which is quite nice for anyone volunteering. So if you haven't volunteered for me before, please come and join us, because what I can offer you in return is fantastic and give you 1 year's free entry to any race you want. That's the deal. That's the deal for my volunteers now. I know I've had a few different ideas in the past, but I think that's probably the best one, the one that benefits the volunteer itself. Angeline once again will be making her lovely soup, or lovely soup that everyone enjoed last time, so that's back. Yeah, so the Holly Hustle, 10 days time, really looking forward to it. It's going to be the 6th running of the event. Maybe I'll get to run it myself one day if I ever get that organised. I've just stopped for about 2 minutes to have a wee. I've not seen anyone for about half an hour. As soon as I start having a wee, these 2 kids on bikes come past. So halfway through a wee right now. The next race on the calendar is the Leeds Country Way Winter Ultras. A 2-day jobby. Front end of December 7th and 8th. Got about just short of 70 entries on that now. Which I'm very happy with, considering it's an inaugural event. I'm very happy about that. Hang on, I better run across this golf course so I don't get twatted. Oh, that's okay, there's no one around. So a few positions for volunteers are needed for that. I have about seven of the 9 checkpoints covered. So I need about 2 more checkpoints covering. We're getting help from Methley Striders, Kirkstall Harriers, North-East Fell Runners and Round A Runners on some of those checkpoints. So thank you very much, guys. Thanks very much for helping. If you are in a running club or group or crew and you want to help and run a checkpoint, you can. And in return you'll get free race entries, either for a friend on the day or the weekend, or you can save them for yourselves for a later date. So I think I'm answering a question there that's been asked a few times actually from those volunteers. I think a lot of those volunteers actually want to run themselves, so I think they're going to oh god, why have I found mud? Right, trying to stay clean for this one. Oh, didn't plan on getting wet feet today. Another thing I want to sort out for the Leeds Country Way Winter Ultras are tail runners. Tail runners for the Winter Ultras. Now obviously tail running a 50k, if you're up for it, fine, let me know, do it. But I would think for the aspect of safety and in the winter and stuff, I'd like maybe some people to tag team it, jump on certain sections, run to a couple of checkpoints, stop, and then have someone take over. And I think that's what I want to do. But if someone wants to do the whole thing, obviously they can. I'd like maybe a team of 2 or 3 people just at the back of each, well, at the back of the race, basically, just making sure there's no one getting too far behind, as we don't have any tracking this year. It's an inaugural event, so we're like basically just trying to save a bit of money. Can't really afford live tracking or anything like that just yet. I have devised an ingenious checkpoint system where when you finish the race you will be given all of the times that you reached each checkpoint. So if this is the sort of thing you wanted to do twice or 3 times, you'd be able to see how you did the previous year. So you'd actually have a record of your times at each checkpoint, which I'm excited to put into place. That's only 4 days or 5 days after UTYD, Ultra Trail Yorkshire Dales. That's me running again. Gonna get hit by a ball again. Yeah, so this is the first run back. This is the first run. I'm coming out of breath because I just ran past some golfers who wanted to tee off and then I've had to cross the road. This is the first little pedal back after UTYD. My feet have been very sore, my legs have been very sore, but managed to get out today for a, well, I thought it was going to be a walk, and then I realised that if I stick my trainers on I can see how I go. And I mean, I'm talking about a couple of 200 metre dashes, that's about it really. But that's good for the confidence. With that in mind, that is why I entered the UTYD. You'll notice I was a little bit grumpy.
Well done, you're nearly there.
He's very grumpy.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I was a little bit grumpy towards the end of that race. However, I think at that point I'd lost sight of the reason why I'd entered that race in the first place. Now, the reason I entered that race in the first place was essentially because I haven't done 100k for over 2 years. The CCC was in 2022. That was the last ultra distance race I did. Have I done anything in between? Actually, nothing comes to mind. I don't think I've done anything that long. Done some long days out, done some long sort of 20-ish mile days out, you know, spanning long time. But other than that, nothing of ultra distance for about 2 years. So to go in a bit blind, rusty's probably the word. I went in rusty, and I wasn't really sure how I'd perform. I wasn't really sure how it would feel. I'm not really sure how I would do. So I've made a few notes here, and I'm going to just go over these notes. Let's talk about the race for a start. It's organised. Let's talk about the race for a start. It's organised by a company called Due North, who probably led me into a bit of false security, as I've done some of their events before, and they're very sort of beginner-friendly events. I've done the Kettlewell Trail Half and the Malham 10k, and they're just like those wonderful sort of entry-level trail events with like fully marked courses, a lot of newer runners, you know, maybe taking on trail running for the first time. So I thought, falsely led to me to believe that this race could be a little bit easier than it was. You know, I won't blame them. They were very clear on the instructions and the promotion that it was, you know, a self-navigated course, and it was going to be tough. But for some reason, there's something in my head just made me think it was going to be sort of a bit easier than it was. And of course, like, how you find it is based on your fitness and on yourself, really, rather than anyone else. So as a setting, it's an absolutely wonderful race. It's kind of like, I feel like it's one of those races that should be at the forefront of people's minds, or at least maybe in a few years' time, because it's the Yorkshire Dales, it's the Ultra Trail Yorkshire Dales. You know, it's meant to be the race of the Yorkshire Dales. You know, you've got Lakeland in the lakes, you've got Hardmoors in the North York Moors. So I think Mel's idea essentially is to make this the race for the Yorkshire Dales, and I think it could do that. The distance is great. You know, it's quite runnable. It's quite runnable. I've got a guy coming my way now. Influences in the wild. Yeah, so Yorkshire, I do think that the Ultra Tour Yorkshire Dales could be the race for the Yorkshire Dales, given a bit of time. So let's get on to how I did. So I finished 15th out of 30, so it's bang in the middle. However, I think I was about 10th or 11th at the halfway point. So I basically lost places in the second half. So the second half was not quite as pretty as my performance in the first half. My first half performance was, I feel it was probably spot on, and I just need to improve my fitness in order to enable me to carry on for a bit longer, because I think by the time I got to about 70k, I was really struggling with sort of any kind of running. But there's a few things that happened during the race that may have added to the fact that I wasn't quite fit enough. So firstly, nutrition. Rusty on the nutrition. I'm rusty on the nutrition, and I made a really crucial error at the halfway point. That error was, I just might have been in a bit of a rush to get back out, and I didn't follow the instruction. I did think to maybe write something down that I could follow at the halfway point. I chose to ignore that and simply tried to remember what I needed to do, and I forgot what to do. So I finished the race and found a bag full of stuff that was meant to be taken with me on the second half. That was about 4 or 5 Turkish delights. We'll get onto them in a minute. About 4 or 5 Turkish delights, 1 pack of Tailwind, and a pack of Caffeine Bullet, which would have been 3 chews. They were for the last 3k. But yeah, I forgot all of that and went out, not knowing. I did stuff myself at the checkpoint, so I got some pizza, I had some Coke, you know, a cola, and had plenty of food, like at the halfway point, plenty of water, topped up my water. There's plenty of water on the course, there's loads of water stations, so you don't have to run out with like litres and litres of water, which is actually quite nice. There's plenty of places to top up, and I didn't fully run out of water at all in the race, which was great, even during the hot sections. Yeah, so that was the biggest error. And the other thing was not fully knowing what was at the aid stations. I wasn't entirely sure what there would be there, and we hit an aid station, the one after, you know, the main checkpoint, and it was just water, and it led me to believe that the next one would be water. So I was very relieved that there was hot soup and food at that one. That was Katrina's checkpoint, and yeah, I think it would have been a very different race. It would have been, oh god, it would have been a 20-hour race had it not been for Katrina's checkpoint, because I had some soup and I grabbed a load of Haribo. That's pretty much all I could eat at that point. I could have probably stayed a little bit longer, to be honest, but it was one of those points of the evening where you stop and it's getting windy and it started to get cold. It also Also started raining as well, so not as comfortable as the halfway mark in the first half of the race. I wore my Hoka speed goats. I wore my Hoka speed goats for this race. I could have done with maybe some mud claws or some grippier shoes. However, it worries me that they wouldn't be as comfortable, and I might have churned up my feet a little bit more. Plus I was wearing waterproof socks. Despite what I'd said at the previous vlog, I did choose to take the waterproof socks, and they worked a treat, because my feet were, in fact my feet were just perfectly clean throughout the whole race. So they do let in water. They've obviously let in moisture. It can't just be sweat. There's no way it's just sweat. But they did get wet, and they get wrinkly, and they get a bit soft, and when they get soft they get sore. And I've managed to finish the race with about 3 blisters, but they were not really the sort of blisters that you notice during the race, I guess, maybe because your feet are soft. They were pretty painful at the end. If it had been another 20k, it could have been the end of my race, because yeah, it's difficult, because if there are more opportunities to stop and do some admin on my feet, maybe that would have been okay. But keeping them dry in waterproof socks, I think it's sweat. I think it's sweat and just moisture from being warm and on your feet, and not necessarily the water getting in, or maybe it's just the moisture coming in but not the mud. I don't know, but I mean, it protects your feet to a certain extent, and for a 50k they'd be brilliant. They'd be absolutely amazing, because obviously if you have wet feet after 5 minutes in a race, like even after an hour or so, they're not very comfortable. But my first foray into waterproof socks, and so I don't know, a fairly decent experience. No other major problems, no major limb problems. I did get sort of sore knees, but nothing more than I'm in this race and I've been doing it for a long time and I'm sore. My energy levels, yeah, great. Not great for the last 20k, 30k maybe, but that's just where I'm at with my fitness. The elephant in the room, right? So the elephant in the room for this race, though, at 9 kilometers, I broke a pole. So I had a pair of Lecky poles, which are amazing. Really looking forward to using them. They're Angeline's, so now I owe Angeline a pole. And I had to do it all with one pole, so I kept the 2 gloves on, and kind of I rode the boat with one arm for a while, and then I'd swap over. But it just wasn't very comfortable, and actually, like, when running, it was just a bit awkward. And yeah, I don't know how much that cost me. It's difficult to tell, but I mean, I obviously would have preferred to have 2 poles for the entire race. I own a pair of poles. I should have brought them. They should have been my drop bag. So from now on, if I'm ever using poles in a race, a spare pair of poles will always be in that drop bag, or with the crew, depending on the race. I don't think I'd be carrying 4 poles with me, but I think that I suppose I could carry 3. We did gaffer tape them up for a bit, and it lasted another hill, but coming down the hill I put too much weight on it and it just bent it completely. So it's knackered. It's absolutely knackered. A section needs fixing on it. We're off to the Lake District this week, and I think we're going to maybe look in Keswick and see if there's anywhere that fixes them, because I don't have a clue what I'm doing with those. Should we go back into the woods? I've got to apologise. I've got to apologise to Fiona, who spent probably the last 2 or 3 hours with me, which might have been more, because I was very, very grumpy during that point. And if she got to know me, she'd know that I wasn't quite as grumpy as that. She was amazing though. Like, she was in a fantastic. I was in the grumpiest mood, and she comes up behind me and she's like, "Isn't this brilliant?" And I'm thinking, oh god, this is the last person I need to speak to now. But more for her, not for me, because yeah, just wasn't feeling great at the end. And I spoke to Mel, the organizer, at the end, and I'm sure she thought, what a grumpy bastard. But you can tell now I loved it. It was great. Definitely going to be back. So yeah, my review of Ultra Tour Yorkshire Dales. You've got to give it a go at least once in your pretty little life. I'll probably be back. I'm going to try and focus on getting 100k done a little bit quicker, just because I don't want to have to face 4 hours of darkness again. But yeah, it's definitely worth the try, and the 50k must be an absolute joy, because the first half of that race was fantastic, and that's exactly the same as, pretty much exactly the same as what the 50k is. And I heard good things about the 25k as well. So Ultra Tour Yorkshire Dales coming in October 2025. I'd hit that. So that's yeah, that's UTYD. I'll put a link in the show notes above in the description, below in the description. So yeah, just to finish off, I'm just going to let you know what's coming up in the next few weeks. So we've got the Holly Hustle next week, and week after that we're off to Spain to see my parents and taking part in Eco Marathon de la Donera. Once again, I've done it once before. I did it in 2019. I filmed it. It's not a great video. It's on the old GoPro Hero 4. It was one of the last videos I did on the Hero 4, so stabilization is not great. So I'll be filming that again. So the next race film will be Eco Marathon de la Donera. I need to work on my confidence, because I'm going to be amongst the Spanish, and their confidence is sky high. So that's the next. That'll be the next race film, and then we move on sort of towards Christmas and the end of the year. Nothing major planned up to Christmas. Maybe just focusing on a few local runs. Oh, sorry, no, there is something I'm doing. So in November and December, January, February, and March, I'm going to try and get my teeth back into the Pico Cross Country League. So I'm getting my purple vest back on, and I'm going to create some content for the Pico League. So that'll be a nice new challenge. Filming, attempting to film cross country running, because the intensity of that is insane. So maybe, so what I'd like to do is, you know, share the love of cross country running, which a lot of trail runners absolutely hate, but I absolutely love it. And yeah, so my times will suffer, but I mean, I'm working on. Oh, I mean, it's going to be tough. I had an awful season. I had an awful cross-country last 2 seasons. 2022 to 2023 involved that injury, and I kind of hobbled around on the last day of it. And then in 2023, 2024, I don't think I engaged with it all that much. I think I might have done 1, maybe 2 of the races. But I think the joy comes when you get engaged with something. So I'm going to engage myself, engage my brain, and focus on the cross-country season. It's never too far outside of Leeds. I sold my car recently, so there's going to be a lot of use of public transport for the next few months, and I hope that speed work will work well into next spring, because I've just entered the Three Peaks race once again. So I've entered the Three Peaks race and the Rumble Stride. So in February the 1st, Rumble Stride, and 26th of April is the Three Peaks race. And I really want to focus on getting the time down for the Three Peaks race, just working on my speed, and then from then on push up the distance again and get some nice ultras in the bag over the summer of 2025, and then go into the autumn and perform well at maybe 100k, and just focus on that really, because I did enjoy it. And I know the reason I was grumpy at UTYD was because I just couldn't quite last the duration. So what I'd like to do next year is just get a bit better at that distance, whilst retaining a level of fitness that's good in marathons, and you know, 5Ks, 10Ks, basically just get stronger, get a bit faster, get a bit lighter as well. If you like this kind of video, this new vlog style, let me know in the comments. It's a good way of info dumping for me. I've got a lot to say, but more importantly, if you would like to support this channel, you can support me on Patreon. If you're local or if you're close by You can benefit from entering races for free if you're a patron, but obviously if you just want to support, that's absolutely amazing. There's no extra content if you're a patron. This is all available to everyone for free. It's just I think it's a really great system, so if you want to support, you can, because YouTube certainly can't support me. £12 this month. So yeah, like every now and then things break and things need replacing, and that's just a massive help towards all that. Do this for love, don't worry. So that's the vlog for today. Enjoy, please subscribe, please. See you later. Coming up in this video, my review of the UTYD, good boy, the UTYD, fuck, I said it again, the UTYD Yorkshire Tour. Oh Jesus, what's going on? They got camera shy suddenly. The Ultra Tour Yorkshire Dales. Coming up in this video, a review of the Ultra Tour Yorkshire Dales.